Can Shadow the Hedgehog make Sonic 3 even better? Surprisingly, yes. Let's talk about Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Hey everyone, it's David Stark from Watch Our Pass. Today I'm here to talk to you very quickly, because I always talk fast, about Sonic the Hedgehog 3 coming to theaters on December 20th, 2024. As you can imagine, it's the third Sonic movie. The Sonic movies have been surprisingly good. I've actually really loved them all. I loved number one. I thought it was a really fun take on like Sonic and made it into a fun movie franchise. It kind of translated a game into a very fun, entertaining movie. Sonic 2 added Tails, who was my favorite Sonic character. Now we have Sonic 3. We've got Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, and a new Hedgehog here, Shadow the Hedgehog. Is Sonic 3 worth your time? Is it worth watching? My hot take is I definitely think you should watch it. I actually love this movie. I thought it was actually my favorite in the Sonic franchise. It is a wild animated adventure that has plenty of action, really good effects, a ton of humor, and just a lot of like pop culture references. I mean, the other movies have done that. This one has a bunch of like movie references, game references, and really fun anime references too. I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was just kind of out there, just a lot of ridiculous humor and situations that are just entertaining to see. So definitely think you should check it out when it comes to theaters on December 20th, 2024. Now you're wondering, hey, this movie's rated PG. Is this okay for kids? Yeah, I mean, it's okay for kids. It maybe like older kids. Like it is not, there's nothing bad. There's, a lot of intense action. Some non-violent deaths, like silly deaths, but things do die in this movie. And also there's some potty humor, but I'd be fine taking my kids to it. Just kind of like user discretion. It's kind of like, Sonic is a little bit more rude. So if you're okay with like rude humor, things like that, then you'll be fine. Now, you also might be wondering, hey, the last two movies have had stingers. Should I stay in this one? Does this one have a stinger? Yes, you definitely should. There is a really great mid-credit scene that gives a hint of what's to come, and then also a very fun end credit scene that also gives another hint. There's two very important scenes. Watch them both. So, with all that out of the way, I'm going to tell you a little about the film, a few things I liked, a few things I didn't like, and then really quickly go into a recap. So as you can imagine, there will be spoilers on the recap section. If you don't know what happens in this movie, you might not. There are some big surprises along the way. I would turn off when you get to the recap. Before that, though, I'll keep it vague. I'll keep it spoiler-free. Let's try and get to those spoilers. So, in Sonic the Hedgehog 3, you have our new favorite super animal friends. You've got Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. They are all hanging out with their, parents, I guess, with Tom and Maddie. But a new villain emerges, this mysterious, super powerful hedgehog named Shadow, that causes Team Sonic to go into action, but this might be a threat that they can't overcome. So, things I liked about this movie. The first, I love the effects and the animation. It's a really, the entire series has really done a nice job of blending, CG characters with, real life actors, real life situations. Like, the movie takes place in a fictional real world, but you've got animated characters interacting pretty seamlessly. They look great. They look wonderful. It's very high quality animation, and it doesn't really kill your suspension of disbelief, which is always an issue when you have an animated character. These ones are very, very well done, and the effects also are fantastic. Just explosions, power effects, sparks, smoke. It makes the action really intense and exciting. Second thing I love the music. Just like everything about Sonic, it is high energy. There is a high energy soundtrack with some real classics in there. There was one song I was really excited to hear. I haven't heard in a very long time, so that put a smile on my face. And a lot of the songs are also classic rock songs, so high energy, things I like. The third thing I love the humor. It is very funny. Like the other movies, it is a very random sense of humor, but a very funny sense of humor. It was a kind of nice contrast because I saw Mufasa yesterday, which has some random humor that's not funny. This one has a bunch of random humor and asides and references that I thought were hilarious. They were out there. They're wonderful. You're definitely going to laugh and smile throughout this film. The fourth thing I love the cast. A really good cast. I liked the Sonic cast throughout. And now we have Keanu Reeves as Shadow, who is perfect for this character. I'll go into it next, but there's a lot of anime references, and a lot of this takes place in Japan, and the way that Keanu Reeves delivers it, it feels very anime dub, which I don't know if it's intentional or not, but it was perfect. And the last thing I loved, a lot of movie, video game, anime references. There's tons of them in this. References to old films, references to some video game tropes. A lot of anime scenes and things like that are just reminiscent of anime. I'm gonna go into that in the recap, but tons of stuff, tons of fun references, and it definitely kind of breaks the fourth wall occasionally as well. So it also really feels like a labor of love, like a labor, like the film was created by people that love entertainment and movies and video games and anime, and so that bleeds through into the film. So, all that being said, there really wasn't anything I didn't like. I liked this movie a lot, much more than I expected to. I have generally not been a fan of Shadow for some reason, but I like him a lot now, so I love this film. Definitely check it out. It's my favorite in the series so far. So check out Sonic the Hedgehog 3 when it comes to theaters on December 20th, 2024. And I'm going to really quickly go into a recap right now. So if you don't know what happens in this movie, I would turn it off now because there will be spoilers. So in Sonic the Hedgehog 3, it starts in a secret facility in Tokyo Bay, Japan. You have this strange black and like red hedgehog named Shadow there. He's being held in stasis, but something wakes him up. There's some sort of like Robotnik-like logo on the computers before they hack it and cause him to wake up from stasis. He's being held by GUM, which is this like apparently multinational defense force. But when he wakes up, they can't stop him. He is too powerful and he breaks out of this facility. Now, this causes Gun to ask for Team Sonic's help. They come to him. They come to Team Sonic. They're out having like a fun picnic, but when they hear that the world needs help, Team Sonic rises to the occasion and goes and helps. So they head to Tokyo, where Shadow has just broken out of the facility and is now kind of like rampaging through the city. Our friends Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails all try to fight Shadow, but he is much too powerful for them. He easily beats them. Now, eventually, Shadow beats them up and jumps on a motorcycle and goes. And Sonic, not wanting to, miss out on a race, runs after him, catches up to him. They fight Shadow on his motorcycle, Sonic, using his speed and his powers. But eventually Shadow still beats him. And during this, there was a wonderful Akira like motorcycle sliding scene where they fight and then Shadow stops and he like turns it to the side. It is right out of Akira. It was beautiful. It was like a really nice early reference for anime, and there are many more throughout. So after all of this, Shadow escapes and the team regroups at a restaurant. It is this like fun Japanese restaurant with all these crazy characters in it. It is very silly because it is like an over-the-top Japanese restaurant and they're trying to talk like serious situations. Now, while they're there, Commander Walters also shows up to talk to Team Sonic about what happened. Now, but the restaurant gets attacked by egg drones, and during the attack, this mysterious person on a motorcycle shows up to stop the drones. Now, the drones do manage to cause some damage, and Commander Walters is hurt, but he gives Sonic some sort of key before he dies or before he passes out. I'm not sure if he dies or passes out. We don't know, but that happens. Now, we find out that the motorcycle person is Stone, Dr. Robotnik's lackey, for lack of a better term. And he tells them that Dr. Robotnik did not send these drones. Also, surprise, Robotnik is alive. We didn't know that, but Robotnik is alive. He didn't send these drones, and so Stone, wants to take them to Robotnik so we can figure out where this all came from. Stone takes him to Robotnik, who tracks the drones to that base where Shadow was held. So now we have an unlikely alliance here. It seems like Robotnik wants to figure out who's using his drones. Team Sonic wants to figure out where they came from and who's attacking them. So they kind of join forces and head to that base. Now, when they get there, it's mysterious, it's run down, and they start exploring, but Shadow is there, and so is someone else. Now, Shadow beats up everyone here, ties them up, ties up Team Sonic, and Robotnik discovers his long-lost grandpa, who was working with Shadow back in the days. We find out some of Shadow's backstory. We find out that about 50 years ago, Shadow was held in stasis for 50 years. Robotnik's grandfather was working with Shadow, trying to like figure out what to do with his power. It was a scientist in this lab, and he had a granddaughter named Maria. Maria was sweet. She went with him everywhere, and she and Shadow became quick friends. It almost seems like they were siblings. You can't tell if it's like a romantic connection or a sibling connection. I think it's probably more on the sibling side. Doesn't really matter. But in any event, they were very, very close. They were kind of a little family together. But something terrible happened. And originally, we think that it was Shadow's power becoming unstable. They were trying to harness his power, trying to use it as a new power source. And so they were doing experiments on how much power he could generate and how much they could use it. And we think that caused an explosion, which then caused Maria to die. Now, later, we find out that there was actually Gun trying to capture him, and that capture attempt went awry, and someone caused an explosion, which then killed Maria. But early on, we think it was Shadow's power. Later, we find out it was actually like Gun trying to capture him. Now, Maria was killed in this incident, and because Shadow was so dangerous, they put him in stasis. So Now, 50 years later, Robotnik's grandfather freed Shadow, and now they want revenge on Gunn and everyone else that like captured them. So when Dr. Robotnik discovers he has a grandfather and discovers, this whole plan, he decides to team up with Shadow and his grandfather to make this mission happen. So Stone goes with him. We have Team Sonic tied up. We've got Robotnik's Shadow and Stone on the other side, and they go enact their plan. Now, before this, Shadow takes that key that Walters had given Team Sonic, and then they set a trap to make sure that that Team Sonic dies. They're able to escape, but we know that the team bad guys are going after that other key. There are two keys that need to be used to activate this thing called the Eclipse Cannon. And so now that the bad guys, I'll just call it Team Robotnik, have one of the keys, they have to go after the other. Team Sonic barely escapes. They regroup, and they also want to go after the other. They want to get that key before Team Robotnik gets it. The other key is held in Gunn's headquarters in London, so Team Sonic comes up with a very elaborate plan involving Tom and Maddie disguising themselves using like holographic projectors to get in there, insert a virus into like one of the computers in there that's going to cause Tails to be able to break in, and then they can disable some security systems again. It all goes awry when we find out that the Robotniks are also breaking in. They're a little ahead of Team Sonic, so eventually the Robotnik family, I guess, Dr. Robotnik and his grandfather are in the vault with the key, and so is Sonic. Now they get in there, but unfortunately, they all get captured. Everyone gets captured. The vault has panels below that have variable gravity. Sometimes they can be really strong and pull you down. Sometimes they can be reversed and push you up. So Robotniks are held to the ground. Sonic is put up in the air so he can't move. He can't gain speed. And then we see Director Rothwell, the second in command, in there trying to get the key. Now, there is some fighting over trying to get this key, but Director Rothwell eventually gets the key and leaves. Now, Team Sonic and the Robotniks want that key, and so Tom comes with a plan. He uses the holograms to trick Director Rockwell into giving him the key. He disguises himself as Commander Walters, fresh out of the hospital, and tricks her into giving the key. Now, Shadow shows up a little bit later and sees Tom as Walters, and he does not like Walters. He thinks Walters is responsible for Maria's death. He was being held captive by Walters, so Shadow wants the key anyways and decides that he is going to get the key in a very violent way, and he punches Walters in the stomach, knocking him out and getting the key. Now, Sonic comes and sees Tom because the hologram dissipates after he passes out, and sees Tom on the ground, Shadow punching him. He gets very upset. Shadow leaves, and Sonic stays there with Tom until he goes to the hospital. Now, after all this, Sonic is very upset and forces Knuckles to tell him where the Master Emerald is. The Master Emerald is what turned him into Super Sonic, which is actually Super Saiyan Sonic. And he became ultra powerful, but it was a little bit too much power. He couldn't handle it. So when he was freed from the Master Emerald, they gave it to Knuckles, forced him to not reveal where the Master Emerald was. But now Sonic needs it because he wants revenge. Shadow's too powerful. Shadow hurt his friend. Sonic wants revenge, so he makes Knuckles reveal where the Master Emerald is. Now, meanwhile, Team Robotnik activates the Eclipse Laser, which is being held I think it's held in an underground facility in the Thames River. It opens up. It goes to space. It is a laser that goes into space and then can be used to target anything on Earth. And so they activate the laser. It goes up to space. Sonic goes to get the emerald, is being held by our good friend Wade, everyone's favorite, like, bumbling deputy. He's holding the emerald. Sonic goes to get it. He takes it from Wade and then activates the power. Sonic goes and attacks the Eclipse Laser. I think it's the Eclipse Laser. I don't think it's the Echelon Laser. I think it's the Eclipse Laser. Attacks it, takes Shadow, and they start fighting. Now, eventually, as they're fighting, Shadow hits Sonic very hard, knocks some of the emeralds loose. Sonic scrambles to get the emeralds, but Shadow gets, I guess, some of them as well. And so now they both become Super Saiyan. They are like Super Saiyan twins. There's Super Saiyan Sonic, and Super Saiyan Shadow, Super Shadow. And so they now are very powerful, and they fight throughout the Earth. Eventually, though, Shadow taunts Sonic by saying like something about Tom being hurt, and that causes Sonic to like super uppercut Shadow. Boom, knocks the emeralds right out of him. Shadow falls down, and Sonic is on top of him, ready to end it. And Shadow's like, "Yes, end it, end it all." And Sonic stops. He's like, "This isn't me." Like, he remembers something that Tom told him earlier in the movie where He was very impressed with Sonic because of everything he'd been through. He could have, been very angry, but he hasn't. He has like allowed himself to be loved and find love and all that stuff. And so when Sonic is on top of Shadow, getting ready to end it, he's like, "This isn't me," and he stops. Now, this touches Shadow because, he is upset with Sonic. He assumed he would want to get revenge. And they have a quick heart to heart. And Sonic basically realizes, like, you were upset with what happened to Maria. I was upset with what happened with my family. And the pain doesn't go, and you can't, like, change the pain. You can't change it, but you can remember, like, the love that you had with them and whatnot. Something along those lines, which touches Shadow. And that makes Shadow kind of realize that he shouldn't just be driven by revenge. Maybe there's something else. But unfortunately, the laser is getting powered up, is getting ready to fire, and now Sonic and Shadow have to team up to stop this laser. Thankfully, they still have their Super Saiyan power, so they both go Super Saiyan and go attack the laser. The Eclipse Cannon then like releases essentially Gundams to fight them, which is awesome because it's like a Gundam space battle in the middle of Sonic. So Sonic and Shadow fight off the Gundams. At one point, there's like a very awesome like Gundam-esque scene where Shadow like releases essentially like a pattern of quills outside of him, like a pattern of like energy quills that shoot forth and cause like a giant explosion of Gundams. It's awesome. Everything about this movie is awesome. I love this movie. So they fight, they fight. Eventually, though, the laser fires, and the only things to stop them are Sonic and Shadow. They get in the way of the laser. They use their Super Saiyan powers to stop the laser from hitting Earth. What we find out earlier is that Robotnik wants to use the laser to, cause destruction, be a supervillain. Grandpa Robotnik wants to use the laser to destroy all of Earth and everyone on it. He says that Earth doesn't deserve, to live, and so he's going to destroy all of Earth and himself with it. This is not what Robotnik wants, and so after Robotnik finds this out, after the laser is starting to power up, they end up fighting, and eventually it seems like Grandpa is going to win. He throws Robotnik out of the space station, and it seems like he's going to win, but thankfully Knuckles and Tails save Robotnik as he's falling, get him back in the space station, and they are able to help fight off Grandpa Robotnik, who eventually dies. Eventually, Grandpa Robotnik is punched into like an energy field and just kind of like poof disappears. So unfortunately, they are not able to stop the laser from firing, but Sonic and Shadow are able to, at least stop its path. And then Robotnik and Knuckles and Tails move the laser, rotate the laser so it's not firing at Earth. Eventually, they move it. They kind of nick the moon a little bit on the way, but at least the Earth doesn't get destroyed. So they averted disaster for the Earth, but the laser's unstable, and unfortunately, if it blows up, it's going to, irradiate the atmosphere, cause acid rain, cause all sorts of destruction. So Shadow, wanting to atone for all the damage he's done, decides to team up with Robotnik to keep it from blowing up. Robotnik is going to use his science powers to try and like slow down the explosion, while Shadow pushes the laser away so it's far enough away from Earth so when it blows up, it's not going to irradiate all the atmosphere. Now, meanwhile, Sonic is not doing too well. He used up all of his power trying to stop this laser, and so he started falling towards Earth. Tails goes down with the last ring that they have. They always seem to find a new supply of rings somewhere. Tails has the last ring. He's going to go in and save Sonic, but during the fall, he becomes lightheaded, and so he passes out also. You think, uh-oh, this is not going to end well for anyone, but luckily for them, Knuckles, in the end, gets down there, gets to them, grabs his friend, uses the ring, teleports the ring. Bloop. They crash land in a cornfield somewhere, and everyone is safe. Now, meanwhile, during all this, Shadow was pushing the Eclipse laser away. Robotnik was slowing the explosion. Eventually, it blows up far enough away from Earth, but still to make a really cool explosion. So Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails are now back on Earth thanks to Knuckles using that last ring. And they look up and see the explosion. Everyone is fine, but Shadow and Robotnik are presumably dead. So they saved the Earth. They stopped Shadow. They stopped Robotnik. They stopped Grandpa Robotnik. So everything is fine. There is another party, a party similar to how this movie first started, but with Sonic, Knuckles, Tails, Tom, and Maddie. And everything seems to be going well, and they finally have a race. It started with Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles having a race. Now they're going to finish with Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles having a race. So get ready. They run, and you see them all having fun as a family, and that is Sonic the Hedgehog 3. There are also stingers, like I said, during the credits. We see Sonic has won the race, but he's running a little too far. He ends up running all the way to New York, stops in this like creepy woods, is like wondering what's going on, and then we see a Metal Sonic. And so Sonic fights that Metal Sonic, uh, and he's like, you have to be faster than that. And then all of a sudden, brrr, there's like 20 Metal Sonics here. They all get ready to attack Sonic, but then someone shows up. She is mysterious. She comes in with a hammer, beats up all the Metal Sonics. Wouldn't you know it? It's Amy. Seems like Amy's going to be in Sonic 4. Sure, why not? Let's increase the group. Sure. Now, at the very, very end, there is an after credits stinger where we see a crater on Earth. You see one of the gold bracelets that Shadow was wearing. It's like in the Earth. And then, boom, we see a footstep. Shadow's boot takes a step right next to that bracelet. Seems like Shadow's still alive. So it seems like Shadow survived this. Hey, sure, why not? I like Shadow. I like Keanu as Shadow. Let's have a big old fun, crazy cast for Sonic 4. But first, that's sometime in the future. Make sure to check out Sonic 3 when it comes to theaters on December 20th, 2024. Like I said, definitely think you should watch it. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. Just a silly, good, entertaining humor. This is probably the best video game movie franchise. I mean, it's a legit good movie, but this is also probably the best video game movie franchise in existence. So let's see where it goes. Definitely check it out. And if you do watch it, let me know what you think. Let me know what you liked and didn't like. I'd love to hear it. And thanks so much for watching. If you like this review, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.